Are you ready to take your first big step into the tech world? On today's video, I'm gonna teach you how to build your own professional website while teach you the most important language for building this, HTML and CSS. At the end of this video, you will have a real project to showcase your skills and look more professional to the market. Let's go! So why a portfolio website is so important and why are we using HTML and CSS to build it? Think of your portfolio as your online showcase. It's where you display your experience, your projects, your skills, even with your own personality. It's like a digital resume, but much more engaging and dynamic, and professional as well. HTML and CSS are the perfect tools to build this. HTML is the language where we build websites, and CSS is the language that we need to style this website. Let's imagine the HTML as the skeleton, as the structure, as our website, but we need to make it look beautiful, make it look professional, make it styled, and that's why we use CSS. So to become a great web developer, you need to learn at least the basic, the foundation of HTML and CSS, and I will help you with that with a real project. Great, to start, let's set up our environment. So if you haven't yet, please install Visual Studio Code. It's a very good code editor that we can use. Just go to the official website, click in download for Windows, follow the steps. It's very simple and light, and you can have it and we can start coding. After you have installed Visual Studio Code, open it and let's start our project. You should go to a folder where you want this project to be. Create a folder there. So let's just put here Daniel Carneiro. Now Daniel Portfolio is the name. And let's open this folder on Visual Studio Code. So we will come here, welcome, file, open folder, Visual Studio Code, open folder, and then let's select that folder that we have here. So Daniel Portfolio, select folder, it is opening. After it has opened, we need to start coding. Our first step is creating a file called index.html. So let's go. Index.html. This is the file where we will have our application. So let's start coding on that. You just hit HTML, select this option 5, and now we have the basic structure of HTML. Let me make it bigger for you to see. Great. Yeah, so what I just did here, I used a hotkey from Visual Code to have this code. This is the standard structure of HTML for all projects, so that's why we can do this. If you want or if you don't have this option, just type everything that you are seeing here, and I will explain a little bit about what it is. So here, it's very simple. We always start with this. It's saying to our browser, hey browser, this document here, this file is an HTML file. It helps the browser to understand better what it needs to do to load everything. Here we have the language, so now it's set to English. On the head, you're gonna have some more information directly to the browser. So you use this information to tell the browser things that we want the browser to know to help us loading the page better, help us with SEO to help people find our website, scripts and more things that we need the browser to know. The first one here is the char set. So this meta tag is exactly for this. It's telling the browser that we are using the char set, the characters set of UTF-8. This just helps us, the browser understand that we can have emojis, we can have our alphabet. So this is pretty standards for it to use. Also, we have another meta tag, and this tag name is viewport. It's about the size and what is being displayed on our web page through the browser. We use this tag here to tell the browser what's the width of our contact. So for example, device width and the initial scale. This also helps about responsiveness and when we are using with mobile devices. So these tags here tells the browser, hey, take a look at the user's device and adapt a little bit on our page. So this is also helpful. Title is the tab title of our document. I will show you in the browser in a minute. Here we can just put our name, portfolio. And now we have the body and we close the HTML. So just for you to understand, everything that I'm saying here are tags. HTML works with tags. So tags are things that we create to divide and structure our web page. As I said, the tag head tells the browser, hey, take a look at this, it's important for you. Tag meta, same idea. Tag title, put a text in the tab in the tab of the browser. Tag body is just saying our main content goes here. So it's pretty much everything that we put right here is gonna be displayed in our web page. Meanwhile, in the other tags, it's not exactly displayed unless about the title, right? So let's go. Let's open the file right now and take a look of what's happening. To open the file, we just go to that folder that we created before, and you can see that now this folder has an index HTML file, the file that we created. You can just click it, it's gonna open. Yeah, it already opened. It doesn't have anything yet because we didn't put anything, but let's start. Let's go to our Visual Code again, and let's type something, for example, hello world. Save it, go back to the browser on where you open the file and refresh the page. It's hello world. Now we're started building our website. Just pay attention that every time that you make a change, you need to save Visual Code, save the file, and refresh the browser in order to see the changes. Another change that we can make is something pretty standard that we always do when starting, is do something, for example, H1. H1 is another tag for titles that we use. We have H1, H2, H3. So these tags we use for big titles in our page. Hello world, I put there. Now you see it has a different font size, it has a different font weight. That's because we are using the tag H1. And just for you to know, okay Daniel, but why can't I just put hello world here and style after? It's because we are helping the browser identify the key points of our application when we use the tags. So when I say hello world in a H1, the browser know, okay, this is probably a title, this is a header, this information is telling what is the content below about. It helps on SEO, it helps on accessibility, so always try to use the correct tags with the correct content for better SEO and better performance on your website. So yeah, I started talking to you about tags, and we are going to learn good tags that we can use for pretty much all websites that we have. There are a lot of tags, so you can search more if you want. But let's go back, let me show you just this. This is pretty much simple tags that we're gonna use in our application. So here we have the page, right? Tags that we're gonna use. Header is pretty much like this. It's telling, hey, this is the header of your page, a content, a section for your header. Main content, main, the tag main, it's just saying, browser, this is the main content of my page. Everything that is important is around here. Footer is exactly what the name says. It's just saying, here is the footer, the bottom of the page. We can put some contact information, some social media or more things. And also we have more tags. So for example, we have a tag called aside. There's a tag that usually we use when we have some side panel on our page. We can also use this. So tags are really important in HTML. It's important that you always remember that information. And now here's a very good tip for you. Let's go. Remember that I say that every time we change, we have to refresh the browser and that. We have a better thing. We have a better solution for that. So you should go to extensions, install some extension called Live Preview. Also guys, I have a lot of extensions here. If you find it interest to know more about extensions that I have and things that can make your coding life easier, tell me. I can make a video just about every extension I have. It's very good, but I will be telling you little by little on the videos where it's convenient. This Live Preview is very good, so you should come here, search it and install. It helps us see real time what changes we are making on our HTML file right within the Visual Code. So it's a very good tool that we can use. I have already installed that, so when I click here, show preview, now it's showing here, and I don't need to be saving and refreshing the page all the time. This saves a lot of time when we are coding, so that's a very good tip. Not many people talk about that, so if you like that tip, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, because it helped me a lot on bringing new content and tips for you. Let's move on. So remember that I told you that we are using header, main content, and also footer, right? Let's do this on our code right now. So I'm gonna erase this here. Inside body, because that's where my content is, I'm gonna type header. And you can see that I'm just typing header and hitting enter. I could, of course, do this, but it takes longer, so to avoid time. So we have our header. Something that I like to do is to write the name so I can know where in the page it is. I have our main, and also our footer. That's pretty much the basic structure of our application. Our header, just for you to know, of course, the footer is not below, the main is not in the middle, in the center. We're gonna do this with CSS right after we write some code here. So wait, we first start writing the structure, and then we will be styling everything and making it look beautiful. So now that we have our basic structure on the HTML, we can start coding everything, right? So the tag header is telling, hey browser, this will be the header of our application. And you can put a title, you can put a menu, a navigation panel, you can do different things on the header as you wish. Let's do this. Let's start by typing A. And this is a link tag. So every time we have a link tag, it's usually a link for something, right? So I'm gonna put href this, and we're gonna write Daniel Carneiro. You can see that it's styled as a link because when we click, it goes somewhere. That's what the tag A is doing. Okay, so just pay attention to that. It's important we use it all the time. When I attach href to this, it's just going to the root of the document. So in this case, it's index.html. So when I click this, it goes to index.html where it already is. So that's why it's not going anywhere. But the idea is we have our name, and when we click on our name, it goes back to the index.html, to the home page. That's the idea. We have an anchor, a link, and now you can see that GitHub Copilot is already suggesting us to write these things here. Let's do exactly what it's suggesting us. Actually, I'm gonna even turn this Copilot off. Yeah, so I just come here and disable conditions. Yeah, just for this tutorial to be smoother and not have things popping up all the time there. Even though they are right and they are good things, I just disabled the Copilot code completion extension. If you want to know more about Copilot, I have a video on that. So after this video here, go check it out because it is very, very helpful, especially because Copilot is free. But let's continue here. Another tag that I wanted to do is the tag nav. We usually use this tag when we have a navigation to do. So it can be a navigation, a horizontal navigation or a vertical navigation. Every time that we want to put a set of things, that a menu where the user will navigate between pages or something, we should use a navigation tag. On these tags, I'm gonna have different anchors, different links to different web pages. So that's what we're gonna do. A. And the first also can be what we already done here, home. And now I'm gonna hold Shift Alt and the arrow below, and I'm gonna just replicate this line here. We will have an anchor for projects, another for skills, another for education, experience. That's all. And yeah, now we have our menu here where we can navigate through different pages on our system. When I click, it doesn't go anywhere because it's all pointing to the same page. But let's do something like this. When I hit projects, I want to go to the projects page. We already learned that a page is an HTML file. For example, our main page is the index.html file. So if I want to go to the projects page, I need a projects.html file. So I can just do this, projects.html. And now, just for you to understand what is happening here, we can create projects.html. And it's gonna be another HTML file, projects, and here I have h1 projects, just for you to understand. And now, if I click here, it goes to projects. It's working. So just for you to understand, on HTML, when we need different pages, we need to create different files, all these index.html files. Let's come back here. So for next steps on our project, we can create more of this here, of these files for each one, skills, education, and experience, and you can implement them as you want. Skills.html, education.html, experience.html. Oh, and you can ask, Daniel, why are we calling the first one index.html, not home.html? This could be home.html, not index, but it's kind of convention that the main file of our application, especially when it's an HTML application or a React.js is usually index.html. Even though it's our home, we usually call index.html. If you call home, it's gonna work, but it's just a convention that everybody does, so it's good to follow these standards and best practice. So because in the future, if other person gets your code, or if you go to another, or if you get other people's code, you're gonna understand what they are doing there. So let's move on. We already have our nav here, right? We already have our header. Now let's go to our main content. On our main content, we're gonna have information about us. So it can be your picture, it can be an introduction of yourself, a brief description of who you are. So that's what we're gonna do. Let me introduce you another tag called section. Section is pretty much something that tells your browser this is a part of the tag, right? So we can have different sections to keep our code, our page better structured. So it's just like this. It's a division of topics. So this section is gonna be the page content, class page content. And what is a class? Class is something that we use to identify our elements and style them. So I'm gonna be writing classes here because we're going to be using them on the CSS file. So pay attention, because if you don't write them, if you mistype anything there, when we write our CSS to make it look better, it won't work. So classes are really important and are the basis of styling everything that we want. Also, let me just come here to our header and let me put a class here too. Class logo text. It's kind of our logo, right? Here we have no classes. Page content. So I've created a section just to say this is our page content. We could have other sections or not. Let's create a div. What a div is? A div is an element that represents a box. So every time that we want to put something together, we use a div, the div tag, the div element. This div, this box, has a class called home image. So you probably already know that we are thinking to put our image inside this div. To put an image, we use the image tag. That's great. Source is where your image is, okay? And I will teach you two different things, two different types of source that you can have there. You can have a link, or you can have the straight picture in your project. First, the link. So let's imagine that you already have a GitHub account. You can just use your GitHub account as a link to the image. I don't know if you know that, but this is a very good tip as well. So we can do this https github.com. That's your GitHub profile URL, and then you just hit PNG. Oh yeah, I have a typo here. Daniel Carneiro tag. Yeah, that's my picture. It's there. So if you have a GitHub account, maybe it's just easier for you to use. But just remember, every time you update your GitHub account profile, it will update this picture. It's this one here that I'm using, and you can use anyone. So if you want to put my GitHub there and use my picture, you can use it. Just on this practice, of course, but I recommend that you use your own picture so that you can see your face in your website. It's very nice. Another thing, if you don't have a GitHub account, that you can do is just take a picture that you have and you can just paste it here, or just add that picture to the folder, okay, that we are using. It will appear here, and now you can reference the source to that picture there. So my picture is Daniel Sport, so I can just say Daniel Sport.pg. It's already here. It's different because my original picture has a bigger size. We will handle that sooner. And GitHub has a smaller size, but we already have our pictures here with our navigation and everything. Very good. If this you can also organize these pictures in a folder, inside a folder, and do different things. But since I want to be faster here, let's just move on this. Alt. This alt text is an attribute for an alternative text description to the image. So especially for accessibility reasons, it's good that we always fill this alternative text so that people can know what is in the picture, even if they have some accessibility things. For example, they don't have 100% of their vision. So I just have a quick description here, and you have to describe. So for example, image of a man, Daniel, smiling with arms crossed, wearing a black t-shirt. So we can give people that can see an idea of what is happening, and this is really important to keep accessibility in our projects. Yeah, you already learned about the image tag. This is good. We use that a lot. Let's move on. So I have a div for my image and I have another div for our home contents. So inside this box, I'm gonna put everything that I want regarding to our home content. For example, my name, a brief description for that. So I will have an H1 and I say, hi, it's Daniel. Right here, I will have Daniel written as in a different color, and for that, I'm gonna create a span. And inside the span, I'm gonna put Daniel, and this span, and now the classes. So H1 header. The header will have no class, that's okay. And the span will have a class called colored words. Daniel, what's a span? Very nice. A span is another tag that we usually use just to involve tags or involve anything that we want without any specific objective. So for example, here I just want to use a span because I want Daniel to have a separate class, because hi, it's in a color and Daniel will be in another color. So I use the span for that. It's just something that evolves a text or a component so that you can add some styling to that, and it usually has no effects on the component. It's similar to a div, but div comes to some styling already, for example display block and things like that. Span comes to other styling, but this usually doesn't change the way that we are developing our application. So when you want to group content together inside one thing, inside a section or one thing, you use divs. When you have small components, small elements that you want to give specific attention to that, like this in my case, you can use a span for that. Daniel, if I use div, would it be okay? Yes, it would. But that thing, again, try to use the correct text for the correct things so that you can keep things organized and tell the browser what is going on. So I will have, hi, it's Daniel. Where is it? It's here. We will have an H3. So H3 is different from H1, but all of them are considered headers for the browser. We can say that I'm a software developer. That's nice. Let's do the same idea here. Software developer, we have a different color. Software. And after, I will come back here because right here we're gonna have an animation. The idea is software developer will be changing with different things. For example, in my case, software developer, tech mentor, software engineer, web developer. It will be changing the words as the time goes. That's an animation that I will use to give you an example for you to learn how to handle animations here. And I'm also using a span for that specifically, but I will come back here and we will talk about this later. So H1, H3, P. P is a paragraph. It's just a paragraph. That's pretty much. So every time you have a paragraph, you have some text you can use. I have a text already here. If you don't have, that's another tip. You can do something called Lauren. Lauren, and hit enter. It just puts some text here that you can see. But Lauren is a specific text that simulates words even though they are not words. So when you first look at this, it simulates a text that you would read, but this words actually doesn't exist. But it's very good when you are mocking, when you are creating your website and you don't have the texts yet, you don't want to think about that yet, you can use Lauren and use this on your website. There's also a website for that where you can even choose the range of how many characters would that Lauren text have. So that's pretty interesting. I already have my text here, so where's my text? Let's use it. Here it is. Nice. It's already getting form, even though it's not pretty yet. We'll handle this later. So one of the last divs that we have here is gonna be on our main content. Home content is gonna be social icons. So I will have a div here that I call class social icons. And just before we start this, I forgot a tag here. A3. Yes. Class typing text. We'll use this for the animation that we will be using. Now, social icons. What I want here, I want to put icons. In my case, I have LinkedIn, I have YouTube, I have Threads. I will put these icons here so that people who see my profile can check my social media. For the icon tags, we're gonna use anchors because they will be links to other pages, especially externally, so that's something I didn't say. This tag can reference a link inside your page or outside. So if you want to redirect people to Instagram, to LinkedIn, to Google, to anywhere, you can do it by using this. Just putting here the source where it is. So let's go. The first one will be LinkedIn, the second one YouTube, GitHub, and Threads. That's gonna do. All of them will have classes that I'm gonna use. So I can start just by adding this. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Alt arrow down, and now I can write in both of the lines at the same time. I love these hotkeys. Class, and it's gonna be LinkedIn. Yeah, not all of them, of course. So LinkedIn. I hit Ask, YouTube, Threads, and then I'm gonna have GitHub. So I'm gonna have LinkedIn, and these will actually be icons, but just for us to see them, I'm putting the names here. But we will soon be replacing this for icons using an icon library that I like very much. These are links. They are not linking to anywhere yet, so let's do this. So just get your links and put right here. I'm doing that right now. Just finished here. We already have the links. Let's see if it's working. So I'm gonna click. It opened the browser on my LinkedIn. Nice. I'm gonna click. I'm holding Ctrl and then click. It's gonna be the link to subscribe on my YouTube channel. If you didn't, please do. It helps us a lot. Thank you very much. Threads is gonna open, and that's it. Very good. I just have something here. So here's Threads. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. And before we start adding our icons here, and they're gonna be beautiful, that's really nice, something we're gonna do. Let's go the footer. The footer is very simple. Things that I like to do, but you can do anything that you want, of course. I will have a paragraph here, and I will just write a text about copyright. Daniel Carneiro, rights reserved. It's here. This symbol here is this one here that you can see. So we have different symbols that we can use, and we have different characters to represent them. This is the copyright symbol. Nice. So our page is pretty much working right now. We have all the content that we want. There's an S missing here. All the content that we want. You can see that it's not styling at all. So we should start doing this. Just before we style, let's add the icons. So here, instead of words, we will actually have the social media icons here, and it just makes a big difference when we have the final vision of our website. And for that, we will be using a library called Fontawesome. I talked about that in other videos too. So it's free to use, but you need to register and add it to your project. So go to the official website, fontawesome.com, and just a disclaimer here, this is one of many libraries that we have, but it's very simple to use, and I like to use that. If you prefer to use the other ones, you can use, but I'm using this one. Create an account, create a free account, and after you create a free account, you will be step guided on the platform until you get to your kits. Your kit is your set of icons, the icons that you can use for free. We have a lot, so don't worry about that. My one is Daniel's kit here. And how do you set up? You should come here, and on your kit you have a script. This script is something that you add to your project, and they say when the browser loads your page, it also loads the connection to Fontawesome for you to load your icons. So you can copy this script here, and then you go to your project. Let's go there. And then you can just put your script right here. Now it's just saying that my project is connected to Fontawesome and it's able to load the icons. This is very good. You will have your own link, your own script to use. So the first one here is LinkedIn. What's the whole process of getting these icons? Let me show you right here. So let's just say I want a LinkedIn icon, right? So I should come here to Fontawesome. Yeah, you are in your kit. What you want to do is you come here and you can just click search. And then you have this And then you have these categories here that you can use or not. We want brands, so we can come here and we can see Facebook, LinkedIn, view more. But the easiest way is come here and say LinkedIn. Now you can just choose. I'm gonna choose this one here. And that's the way that we put on HTML. Copy code snippet, I just copy it. Come back, and instead of writing, I'm gonna have this. It's already there. Perfect. For you to understand though, this tag I is a tag for icon. So every time that we want to load an icon, we usually use this. And the Fontawesome uses classes to load the icon. So since we put a script on index.html, our project is connected to Fontawesome. We just create a tag and then we put a class with the name of the links of the icons that we want, and it's already here and we can start using. It's pretty much like that. If we want to customize colors, size, and everything, we can also use right here. So for example, we click here, choose gray. You can see that it adds some styling to that. If we want a different color, it adds another class, size. If you want a different size, it adds another class to that. So we can do this. We also use this for React if you want to download the SVG. So it's a very complete library that you can use. And now let's do the same for GitHub and then for Threads in my case, and for YouTube. Yep, I have all of them here already. So you can just maybe copy this icon here and change the name. So FA LinkedIn, FA YouTube, and then FA GitHub, FA Threads. You can see they are here. Very beautiful. I put a class on each one of them with their names because I want to change their colors. And instead of changing directly in the HTML, we will change it through a CSS file because that's also a good convention. So of course I can come here and say, for example, YouTube, and I could just do something style and say color red. Yeah, just without this. Sorry, React typos. Of course, I can do this, right? And we can actually do this in all components, all elements that we have. But that's not a very good thing to do. We usually have a separate file for styling that is much better organized. So follow this best practice as well. Yeah, that's pretty much our page right now. It's very raw. It's not beautiful at all. We will start coding the CSS and then it's gonna get beautiful. So just please, let's first take a look if we have all the classes that we need here, if it's not missing anything, and then let's create our CSS file and start making this website beautiful. And just before we go to the CSS, let's add another anchor here. This anchor leads to nowhere by now. Let's hit hire me. It's gonna be a button, class button. We will style this as a button after. I want to have a button here so when people click, it can do something. For example, redirect to my email or download my resume. It's written hire me, but we can change it after. So now it's done. Let's go here, create our styles.css file. Now we start to make our page look better, and that's gonna be great. So now we have our style.css. Remember, we have the structure. Now let's make it beautiful. We need to use CSS for that. So let's start. We usually do something like this in all projects that we start working. This is called CSS resets, and this ensures a consistent baseline across different browsers by doing a couple things that we want to do to reset all the styling of the components, because some elements already has something built-in properties or some browsers may have something. So to make everything consistent across different browsers, we use the CSS reset. This is a universal selector, so it will apply this for everything on our page. Let's start. We start with box sizing, border box. I will tell you a bit about it later. Margin 0, padding 0, text decoration none. Also border none, outline none, one family, Sora or sans serif. That's our reset. That's good. Daniel, nothing changed. Yeah, nothing changed because we didn't import our CSS file inside our index.html. We need to do that. So let's go to our index.html, and we will have a tag that we usually call link, and it's already saying style sheet. So we will import our style sheet to our index.html styles.css. You see that it already changed things, right? The font family, also a couple of things here. It's different because now it is applying the CSS. That's great, it's working. So just for this video not to get too long, I'm not going into many details of what is each thing here. So just for you to quickly understand here, you can see the page there. We have our element right there, right? The green one is the padding. The padding is the distance between the content inside and the border. The margin is the distance between the border and all the elements outside. And that's the border. I wrote the border for you to understand the difference between padding and margin. So padding is the distance from the content inside the box. Can you see that? And margin is the distance between the component and another element outside the border, outside the box. I hope you understand. I'm not going into many details of everything right now. So if you want to know more about CSS in deep, please comment below that and I can make a video just about what is everything on CSS. Let's go. Great, it's already getting better. Let me just explain you a few things, okay? So here, when I use this syntax here, I'm telling my CSS, hey, get all the HTML and apply the font size to this one. All the body, all the tag body here, everything that is inside body, apply that. Everything that is inside header. And when I use dot, I say apply that, apply this styling for each element that has a class with logo text. So just for you to understand. Also, when I use these two dots here, I'm just saying, hey, that's an action or a property. So for the class logo text, when I hover, do something, and that's the effect here. And you can notice that it's already getting better, everything that we are doing here. But another thing that we can do is adding another font, right? So I set font family Sora, but Sora is not a built-in font family usually from the browsers, so we need to add this font family. What I usually use for font families are Google. So Google fonts, let's search for Sora. It's here, get font, get embed code, and now you can just import in your CSS file here. Import. Wait here. And now we can do this here. You see, it changed. Now we are applying the font. What was happening here is I say font family Sora. If you don't have Sora, you use sans serif. That's what was happening here. So when I take this out, it's applying sans serif. When I leave it, it's finding Sora, so it's usually it's using Sora. If we have a problem with Google API's fonts, it's gonna use sans serif, and we can even have more here as we want more fonts as a spare. Let's continue on coding our website and making the CSS better. Let's go. Yeah, and I've just pasted this code here. This is about media, and this is a taste of responsiveness. So just for you to understand, everything that we are writing here is applying to the components. But if you want responsiveness, for example, on the mobile phone, it should work differently. We should tell this to the CSS. So I'm telling here that when the screen is smaller than this, you apply this style to the components. So that's very important when we are thinking about responsiveness. I'm not going to very deep on that right now, but just for you to know how it works. So we can have these media queries. You can say that they are rules. Every time this rule is set, this styling is applied and not the others. Okay, so this is very good to work with responsiveness. I will make another video just about responsiveness, but you already have a taste, and you can even copy this style here and implement if you want. Another thing that I like to comment right now is about variables. I didn't said this before. Let's do it right now. So variables are things that help us easily change things in our project. So I say root. I say in all projects use this primary color, and now we can set our primary color to, I have a blue here that I like. Nice. And it will change this in every time that we are calling primary color, and this is good because we don't need to change it everywhere, right? If we don't use variable when we want to change the color or anything in our assistant, we have to change in all the places. But since we are using variables, we just change here and it applies to everything else. So that's very good. Also, another thing that you should notice is I'm using ren here. Ren is a size that is directly related to the font size of the page. So we can say that one ren is 16 px, but this is good for accessibility because if I use ren instead of using pixels, if the user changes the font size on the browser, my whole website will adapt to that. So if the user is using, for example, the font size as normal, ren will be 32 pixels. But if the user, for any reason, any accessibility reasons, having the browser something that are making their fonts is smaller or bigger, my font size will adapt. It will not stay static. If I use pixels, it will be the same. If I use ren, it will adapt according to the user's preference. So it's always good to use ren instead of pixels for accessibility reasons. Let's keep on coding. Yeah, that's great. Now things are starting getting better here. We can see we have some effects. It's becoming way better than it was before. It's already looking like a website. A couple things that you need to know. Here, for example, are not using pixels, are using viewport width. So this is also a relative unit of measure. It takes the viewport, right? So the display of the user, the display of the browser, and use it as a measure to determine the width of our component. So it's usually good to use this for better responsive. Also border radius, that we use this to make its a circle or oval here. Transition, so we are using transition to start working with effects that we have. So for example, when we have a difference of color or size, it doesn't just go, it goes kind of smoothly. You see that it is growing, it's not like just bigger. So that's the effect we use with transition. Transform is another effect that we are using here. So I recommend that you take a look at the documentation of that, because if I go into that right now, it's going to be too long, this video, but we are already making a very professional website here. Let's move on though. Let's make these social icons even better. I've just pasted here, so I'm using every single class that we have and making a different color and styling for each one of these icons here. One thing that you should know also is here I'm using more than one class, you know. So for example, here we can have multiple classes and components in a line and use them in our CSS. So for example, here I'm saying for the H1s that are inside home content, that are inside of elements that has page content, apply this. So this is also a very good thing that we use to help us on writing CSS more efficiently. Also, you can notice here the same idea. So when hovering an anchor that has the class GitHub and it's inside a class with social icons, do this. Also here I have the comma, so I'm saying for elements that has class threads and for elements that has FA GitHub as class, color white. So this is also helpful for when we are writing our CSS. Let's move on, code with me. We are getting somewhere. Button, display. This is gonna be our hire me button. Let's make it beautiful. Button is already way more beautiful right here. Moving on. Great, you can see now that we are creating our animation here. So I've wrote a lot of code here. Just for you to understand, we are using here to handle the animation. In here, we put the name of the animation, in this case, cursor, how long it will last, right? And the iteration count, in this case, is infinite. It will never stop. And we add keyframes to show where it starts and where to go. On this case, it starts from here, for example. This element here, typing text is pen, after. It has a border left as black, but it has this animation, and every 1 second it comes from border left black to border left blue. And that's what is happening right here. Every second it's going from one to another. So that's how we handle animations here. It's pretty much we create frames and say you come from here to that. You come from this style to that style for a period of time, for certain times. That's how we handle animation. And just for you to understand better, remember that I have a span here, right? And I saying actually it is here. I just saying that after they span, right after they span, that's why I have to after, you have this. So that is an element that I'm creating just right after they span. And here I'm gonna create another element just before they span here. In this element we have also an animation called words that I haven't created yet. I just created cursor, and it will work for 20 seconds, infinite. Great. For you to see where this is going on, let's change a little bit. Go to your index.html file, and let's erase software developer from here. As I said, this will be an animation that will be typing all the time, something different there. So we don't actually need. And what we are doing right now is on the span that is before, we're gonna replace the text with things that we want to show. So let's write this, and then you will see how it works, because it's actually simple. Keyframes again, words. From 0% to 20% of the time, the content of the element will be segmented. And let's repeat that. For 12% to 40%, the content will be tag professor. Sorry, there is no comma here. 41% to 60%, the content will be software engineer. And you can put even more. Let me just paste here so we go faster. And I made a typo. It's not 12, it's 21, right? So that's the animation that we have right here. So our keyframes are using this 20 seconds time and saying from 0% to 20% of the time, this is the content that we have, or this one after this one, this one, this one, and it's already there. So now you have learned how to work with animation. It's always like that. Go from a style to another. Go from this style here, content empty, to the style contents, these words here. And okay, how I go from 0% to 20%, you stay here. From 21 to 40, you stay here. And that's what I'm doing here. So always remember that working with animation is always going through one style to another. That's how we animate things in HTML and CSS, and this will make your life easier. We are almost done here. Let's go and continue. And here I'm gonna add another media so that it gets responsive. And I can tell you, it already changed because of the width that I put on the rule. So you can see this is our responsive application. It is still beautiful, it is still working. But when things get bigger, it will display as this one here. Our project, we have the file, but we didn't implement. It's here. Also, if you want, you can take this link here and put it on the browser And there you go. There is our website, right? If we click here, it opens my LinkedIn. Also, it opens my YouTube channel. You can go there and subscribe to help me make more content for you. And also something really nice that I want to show you is this mobile simulator testing tool. So I will talk more about responsive in my next video, but if you come here and you click, if you install the extension, now you have a mobile simulator. Really good to know how it's going with your mobile website, and you can test and even write code for mobile. Yeah, so that's pretty much our project here. Now you have a fully operational website. On this course, we learned about effects, animation, HTML tags. We saw a lot of CSS also, and you also have a real project for you to showcase your skills, put in your GitHub and start building, because that's how we really learn. Also, a great thing that we saw is even about responsiveness, that nowadays with mobile devices is really important. So if you find this video interesting, please subscribe to this channel and like this video, because that helps me a lot on bringing more content for you to learn and grow. If you want to keep learning, check out this video here where I know you can learn more cool stuff. And thank you for watching. See you on the next video.